I'd like to call the Diversity Committee meeting to order. And the first agenda item is public comments. I understand we have a public speaker. I apologize. When we go into an executive session just before another meeting, all of the audio equipment gets shut down, so it takes us a little while to get our act back together again. Okay, if you could identify yourself and keep your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Maureen Fritsch. I'm the president and owner of Fritsch Construction Company, Incorporated. My company was founded in 1993. It was myself and one carpenter. When I started back then, I didn't realize how difficult it would be to operate a WBE construction firm. With that being said, my contracts were very small. I had a total gross sales of $45,000 the first couple of years. I had a friend who introduced me to the New York City School Construction Authority and said that they had a mentor program for minority and women business firms. First thing I did, of course, is I went and I applied. The mentor program was one of the most valuable assets to my business. I would not be standing here today, 17 years later, with an employee status of almost 18, and I can employ sometimes up to 40. And my gross sales are over $10 million a year. My bonding capabilities were nil when I started my business. There wasn't a bonding firm that would allow me to hold a bond. And I was unable to get a credit line. If it was not for the New York City School Construction Authority's mentor program, it allowed me access to credit line and also to bonding capability. My firm grew to where it is today because of the mentor program. There aren't many programs out there that have the capability of giving small firms the building blocks that they need, that they can stand on and slowly build their firm securely and safely. I feel that the mentor program is a huge asset, not just to the small firms, but also to the School Construction Authority. They had the ability to then take contractors and mold them and tailor them and shape them so that they worked on their schools and brought their projects in on time, safely, and under budget. I feel that this would be a huge asset to the MTA, to be able to have a program that would help shape the firms, help them grow, and at the same time have good qualified contractors in a pool that would be able to work on the MTA projects. I hope that you will consider strongly supporting the mentor program because, as I said, I stand here today before you as a graduate of that mentor program, and I would not be here today if it wasn't for it. Not only do I employ, and my accountant reminds me of this all the time, not only do I employ the people that work for Fritsch Construction, but I also subcontract to many M and WBE subcontractors. In turn, I'm employing their employees as well. So I like to think that Fritsch Construction is actually employing well over 100 employees a year when they're working. And if it wasn't for that mentor program, that would not be happening. So I thank you for letting me speak today.
You may speak for 20 minutes.
Thank you very much.
I thank you. I think that your comments express far more clearly than anything I can say or anything Mike can say about why we really want this program at MTA. So I thank you especially. Could I have an approval for the minutes of January 27th? Not yet. We're still in diversity.
So you're just starting?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Someone? Second. All in favor? Thank you. Are there changes to the work plan?
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair. There are changes, and there's some things I think we may want to discuss when we're discussing the work plan. First of all, the old work plan had our first meeting in February 2010, but since we had a meeting in January, we didn't have a meeting in February. So in January, we presented 2010 departmental goals and recommitment to the EEO policy. The year-end report on EEO and contract compliance activities has been moved to today's meeting. And then for this month, we are doing year-end compliance, a report on the EEO contract compliance activities, the Title VI update, and the EEO program update. And for July and October, there has been no change. However, I do wish to point out, as you will recall, last time we met to discuss this, we had placed, and still is placed, have placed a mid-year report on EEO and contract compliance activities. That covers the period up to from January 2010 to June 30th, 2010. And at the earlier discussion, as you will recall, there were some concerns raised by the agencies, and they are here today, so I imagine they would address that, or they might wish to address that, that the reporting period is the end of June, and then we would be coming to you like beginning of July. So there was, so there was concern raised by the agencies, and that there was perhaps too little time to gather all the information and then present it to the committee in like a week or so.
Let me make a couple comments about it. I also want to have a discussion with Mike because the overall goals have to go to the full board as well. So I want to be sure that our timing is right for that. My suggestion is that we approve the changes to the agenda for the present time, given that we are still able to make changes for the later months later on. Is that acceptable? And that way the agencies can get their comments in as well? Does that work? Is that acceptable to the committee? Okay, so there are two things we're going to hold. You have something.
Yes, I'm sorry. I wish to add additionally that, as you will notice, the July 2010 meeting also has on the agenda the federal fiscal year overall annual MWDB goals. There has been a change in federal regulations. Before the change, we were required to submit our annual DB goal every year by August 1st, every year August 1st.
That's exactly why I'm worried about
Okay, so, but let me just add this. There has been a change in the federal regulations, so now the Federal Transit Administration has asked us to submit our goal, pursuant to the change in federal regulations, we're to submit our goal every 3 years, not every year. And so some agencies, some recipients of federal money are to submit their goal August 1st, 2010. Some are to submit in August 1st, 2011. We are the ones who are to submit our goal in August 1st, 2011. So we are not required to submit our goal this year. We are required to submit our goal in 2011. The next submission after that will be 2014 and then 2017 and so on.
I now have a couple questions about that. Does that mean that the goals for 2010 are retained for 2011?
Yes, the directive, the direction that we got from the Federal Transit Administration is they said they will consider our goal to be the same for up until next year, and then they require us to submit a goal in 2011.
And is that a 3-year goal?
Yes.
Okay.
We will cover the 3 years, yes.
Okay. For the committee's understanding, because I know some of you haven't been through this before, setting the annual goal is a big issue for us to get it done by August 1st, because the Office of Civil Rights has to know what's in the capital plan and what's in the next year's budgets in order to be able to set the goal on some reasonable basis. So it's always been a struggle for us. This is good news in that sense, but it's going to be hard come 2011. One of my issues has gone away. Thus, let me say that if the agencies have concerns that July is too soon to report on year end, could you make those comments and we'll see what we should do? There are several options here. One thing we could do is change the dates of the meetings as well. So we have some flexibility. Just get your comments in before our next meeting. Is this April already?
Yes.
Oh, I apologize. I've been gone for the last 3 weeks, and I'm absolutely ditzy today.
It's almost May.
Yeah, okay.
May I say something else? Mm-hmm. The goals that we submit to the committee for approval by the board, they are for 1 year only. Right. So I think we would still have to come back and say this is going to be our goal again for the next year, the 17% goal. So I think we will still make a presentation, however, it'll be the same goal as we had.
I agree that you have to make a presentation each year for us. Yeah. And part of that is that we are interested in improving that goal every year. Right. And that, I think the committee has made that statement. So it's important for us to have that discussion. My only concern really was that to get it all done on the time frame of an outside agency was very difficult. Yes. But if it's an internal goal, it's doable.
Okay. Let me also mention that as you know now, Jay wants us to present at CPOC every quarter. So he is now requiring the agencies to report their contract awards to us on a monthly basis now.
I think all of you heard that we're doing diversity quarterly in CPOC, and I want everyone in this room to understand that the value of that is that it makes a very clear statement to the entire MTA organization that these diversity goals are being taken seriously. And so I'm very happy about it. I know it makes extra work for everyone, but by keeping the numbers in the foreground, we keep the goal as something that the entire agency needs to buy into, and that's really a benefit for us. So thanks. Oh, no, I need you to approve the work.
Second. Aye.
Let me just start out first by saying, before I even begin the conversation about what our goals are, I just thought that it was proper for me to acknowledge the staff. Anytime anyone would like to stop by our office on any given night, you'll see staff and management working 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, almost to the point now where, as an energy cost-saving measure, the lights go out in the office at 6 p.m. every night. And so there was a period of time in which staff would be at their desk with a light on, still working, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And someone showed me the button in which I can turn the lights back on, so now the staff can now walk out on the other side of the building and hit a button and the lights come back on. But staff is here working 7, 8 o'clock at night in order to improve this program. Let me also say that most employees have brought into this new process and program. There's a couple who are still on the edge and trying to figure out if what we're doing is real. But I'm optimistic that they will be on board in a very, very short period of time. And then there's employees who don't think that this is real because this program has never been supported the way that is being supported now, from Jay to the board and to what have you. But this program is real, and I just wanted to thank the staff for working over and above in order to get this program where it needs to be. Let me also say that I acknowledge Ron Saporita at the CPOC meeting. Ron feels so strongly about this mentor program that he canceled his retirement in order to ensure that this program is going to be integrated up and operating. And so Ron has really brought value to this mentor program that we are trying to put in all of the agencies right now. The goals. We are working to go live with a new MWDB software tracking system and certification program. We are on track for this program to go live in September of this year. And we are meeting once a week with the outside consultant into making sure that this program is going to be integrated in September. The new training program. This is the new schedule for the training program.
Do you have extra?
Yes, I do.
Because I like them to go to the whole board.
Okay, there you are. And so basically the focus and the genesis of this training program is to train contractors and firms how to do business the MTA way, how to talk to the staff who can assist them into integrating into the operating agencies. These are five core courses. As we move on in September, once we get this mentor program up and operating, we are going to bring in some new courses also as well. So this is the second offering of these courses. And the first offering, the firms who took these courses, they evaluated them and felt that they brought value as to what they were trying to do. We got a phone call last week, and the mentor program bill is being scheduled for a vote in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And so basically I sent an email out to all of the trade groups and associations and asked for them to call the state senators and to advocate for this bill. So we're working night, day, and weekends in order to make sure that this bill passes. Once this bill passes, it is going to be a game changer. Mm-hmm. Our bond program with Marsh has been finalized. We are now waiting for the bill to be passed so we can implement this new bonding program. We are going out via a RFP next week in order to hire a bank to manage the MTA's loan program. So that RFP will in fact be going out next week. We are hell-bent of increasing contract awards to MWBE firms, and we must do a better job. The goals that we establish every year, to me personally, those goals are a floor and not a ceiling. It is my goal to exceed all of the goals that we have in place with respect to MWDBE firms, and we are working towards doing that. On the circular, we are still working on the LAP. Naeem?
Yes, so for the limited English proficiency program, we have worked with the agencies. We are working with the agencies, and we have a program for headquarters, and we are working with the agencies to finalize that.
Okay. And also, there has been a special emphasis on ensuring that the contractors who establish these goals are in fact meeting these goals. One of the things I wanted to in fact do is get this office involved in the evaluation process. And for those contractors who are not taking this program seriously, I want to begin the process of changing the contract language, evaluating these contractors, and bringing some form, shape of sanctions so we can send a strong message out. Just this morning, I got a phone call from one of the operating agencies, and they wanted me to reduce a goal from 17% to 1.93% because it's an hour contract and they must award the contract as of tomorrow. And I told them that request is DOA, dead on arrival. And so we must do a better job in sending a strong message out to our contractors to take this program seriously. Last but not least, one of the first assignments that I got was to increase our asset managers in moving some of our pension fund assets over to state-certified MWBE firms. And I'm proud to announce at the pension board meeting tomorrow, we will total $425 million in pension fund assets over to state-certified MWBE firms. But yet, I'm still not satisfied. We currently have $3.2 billion in pension fund assets. I'm not going to rest until at least 25% of that, or almost a larger number, are resting with qualified MWBE asset managers. Thank you.
Mr. Banks.
Mike, just one quick question on the LEP program. Does the FTA give us an outside window by which we have to complete our program?
There is no specific deadline, but we have to we have to be in compliance with the FTA regulations. So we recently had a review done, FTA triennial review done, and this is not an area in which they thought there was a deficiency. This is not an area which they thought there was a deficiency.
Okay. So what do we have an internal goal for completing the program?
The internal goal for let me just have Gwen respond to that.
Okay. The MTA LEP program has been created. We just updated it this year, and it's now going through a review process.
Yeah. How long will the review take?
I'm not sure because it needs to be passed on through Mike and our legal department for review.
Okay. Mike, you can get
We'll go
back
back
to
and
me.
send you an update.
Sure.
Any other comments? With respect to Mike's introductory comments, I want to thank the staff. I know how much extra effort has been going on. A lot of that is related to the fact that you're implementing programs and improving programs that have already been in effect. I know it's very difficult, but it's also something that we all believe is important, and it's because of your belief that you work as hard as you do. I appreciate that very much. And it's going to be successful. I'm convinced of that. Diversity and Outreach Report? Sunita's doing?
Yes.
Good.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to report on the outreach program that our department has aggressively undertaken. In addition to the events that we do outside with the various organizations, we've actually have organized some of the events in-house. I think it's been cost effective, and it has been an eye-opener for the firms that have actually been wanting to come in and figure out which way do they go and how do they get to the various agencies that they want to do business with. So in January, we reported that we had organized an agency-wide contracting forum, and that did happen. We had a little over 300 firms that RSVP'd and attended that event. We had quite a bit of participation from our prime contractors, Skanska, Judlau, overwhelmingly coming in wanting to meet these firms. We continued with a specific architectural engineering forum right after that, which included a little over close to 300 firms also. It seems that these forums that we're having up on the 20th floor to Broadway is being very well participated. And with that, we're getting ready to organize another one, which is May 26th, specifically for supplier commodities IT firms. We have, within the past two forums, we have actually identified the firms that are certifiable, and also firms, we are currently working with them on a one-on-one basis, giving them access to the different agencies that they're doing business with and the different procurement representatives. So it's really an overwhelming response what we're getting with these firms, and we're kind of shaking up the security in the lobby at 2 Broadway with all the firms that we're getting in, but, you know, it's an eye-opener. These firms are coming in, and they are ready, willing, and able to do business with us, and they're following up, and we're following up. So it's, yes, it's a lot of work, but it's paying off. With that, again, we are still working with the different organizations, and as you see, we have in May scheduled to participate with the Asian Women in Business. We will be discussing our program on a panel workshop and exhibiting. Yonkers Business Week is an annual celebration that they have up in Yonkers, and they include Business Week. That specifically is they have actually invited us to speak on how to do business with our agencies. It's a luncheon along with the other state agencies, Conjunction, DASNY, Port Authority, or the other agencies that have a program similar to ours will be participating in that event. in June, it picks up, and we will be participating in expos, exchanges, and exhibit fairs to continue to recruit the firms and assess them, bring them in, and assist them in doing business with the other agencies.
I just have one. Are you getting companies that are certified as well as presently looking for certification?
Yes, we're getting firms that are certified, probably even doing business, have done business with us in the past, certified by their agencies.
So it's a real mix. That's
Yes.
good. Making more work for Carolyn, though.
Yes.
Okay. On the MTA agency-wide diversity programs, the MTA Diversity Council has been very, very busy. And for the month of April, we are going to be celebrating tomorrow Jewish American Heritage Month. So if you have any time in your calendar, we're going to begin the program at 12:15. We have a very interesting speaker. He is a writer and a performer in an off-Broadway play, which is called Circumcise Me. His name is Yesero Campbell, and he guaranteed us that it's going to be a very entertaining speech. So, yes. Please. Well, no, we're going to talk about the circumcision process right after he does his speech.
And a demo.
We're going to do it after.
No demo.
And if we have any volunteers. But the diversity program is scheduled tomorrow to begin at 12:15. So if you have time, we invite you out. During the month of April, Metro North had a Take Our Daughters and Sons to Work Day / Earth Day. I understand it was well attended and that the kids enjoyed themselves. MTA Bus Company also celebrated Women's History Month. MTA and Metro North worked jointly last month to put on a Women's History Month. It was an activity every week during the month of March, and it was our first joint venture with another agency, and I have Natasha Griffith, who was she was a leader on planning and organizing these events with Wendy Wark from Metro North. And we have just a slight presentation we'd like to give you just to show you what you missed last month. Okay. Natasha.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members, and MTA family. On behalf of the MTA Diversity Council and Metro-North Railroad, thank you for providing me the opportunity to highlight these events that were held in March in recognition and celebration of women. But before I proceed, I'd like to take this time to particularly thank Roberto Aguirre, Office of Civil Rights, who approached me on the side, aware of my outside activities. He asked, "Are you still a commissioner on the New York City Commission on Women's Issue?" Yes. Are you the former president of 100 Black Women? Yes. What do you want, Roberto? And so certainly I knew that these were leading questions, and ultimately he did ask to spearhead the month's activities. I'd also like to take this time to thank Wendy Wark, Metro North Director of Employee Relations and Diversity, whom I worked very closely with, her and her staff. Wonderful support. Gwen Halston, Chair of the Diversity Council, and those members and non-members who remain committed to implementing these programs on behalf of Metro North and MTA headquarters employees. We selected events designed to inform, enlighten, and empower. And although all events held in this boardroom were free, we asked those who attended for something in return, that they pay it forward by sharing the information presented and learned with their wives, girlfriends, daughters, sisters, and friends. Hence the name of our 5-part series, Awakening Her Story. We kicked off the month by celebrating International Women's Day on March 4th by extending an invitation to employees to attend a one-night-only event sponsored by CARE that brought the best-selling book, Half the Sky, to life and on screen in movie theaters across North America. Inspired by moving stories from the critically acclaimed book written by Pulitzer Prize winner journalists Nicholas Kristof and Cheryl Rudin, Half the Sky featured uplifting music, celebrity discussion, and the world premiere of one of the stories adapted from the book titled Winneshette, a powerful short film by Academy Award winner Marissa Tomei and Lisa Leone that chronicles the struggles of a brave 13-year-old from a small village in Ethiopia who, along with her family, fought back against brutal tradition of gender-based violence, abduction, and forced child marriage. At that time, Ethiopian law stated that a man could not be prosecuted for assaulting a woman or girl whom he later married. Instead of giving in to such a tradition, Winneshette took a huge risk and vowed to prosecute her abductor. The film traces her road to empowerment and offers solutions and information about these issues. The Chinese proverb, "Women hold up half the sky," and the book and the movie that followed were a powerful rallying cry we thought would be great to present to MTA employees, to ask them to stand up and to join a growing worldwide movement to fight global poverty by empowering women and girls. I think it was perfectly said by Tom Brokaw, who said that the movement is certainly going to pierce your heart because it certainly aroused our conscience. On March 10th, employees were transfixed by motivational speaker Ann Tardy, founder of Life Moxie and author of Life Moxie, Ambition on a Mission. Titled Developing You, Write Yourself into Her Story, this interactive workshop demonstrated how certain mindsets and behaviors inhibit personal and professional growth. Using highly relatable experiences, and provided guidance on how to assert, position, and relate better in the workplace, and in so doing, empower oneself. Now, as days approached for the following week, and details became known more about the movie Winneshette, Roberto, the person whom I recognized before, recognized the name amongst the film's credits. And with very little effort, not only were our employees treated to a private screening of Half the Sky, Winneshette, in this very room, we had his friend, the film's screenwriter and producer of Winneshette, Daniel Laurie, join us on March 16th. She entertained questions about the making of the film, its challenges, its impact, next stages, and of course the progress made to date by that young Ethiopian girl who is now in her early 20s and who is now attending law school. We surprised those in attendance with a chance to win a copy of the book, Half the Sky, and were equally surprised when Danielle offered to screen her next film here at MTA headquarters. On March 23rd, we had Bonnie Wong, founder of Asian Women in Business, Gail Bruce, founder of Unreserved, American Indian Fashion and Art Alliance, Beverly Norfeld, the former executive director of the White House Project, coordinator of the Equal Pay Coalition, NYC, and vice president of the New York Women's Agenda, and Virginia Montague, president of the New York Coalition of 100 Black Women. They made for a powerful and candid roundtable discussion titled Women, the Ultimate Game Changers. But before we began, we were honored to have Helena Williams, president of the Long Island Railroad, most certainly a game changer within and outside the MTA family, to provide opening remarks. President Williams spoke to the history of women within the agency and its current efforts to increase the representation of women in non-traditional roles. The powerhouse of visionaries spoke candidly about what existed at the time that prompted them to take action to found their organizations, the dynamics in their relationships, shifting of responsibilities with their spouses and friends, the realities of what it will take to eliminate gender-based discrimination and unfair pay equity practices, and what they are doing today that's changing the landscape and for women and their families, and in so doing, indeed, humanity. The final event was held on March 30th and began with Metro-North President Howard Permit providing greetings and also sharing with us the agency's history and efforts to provide and retain a diverse workforce. The event, titled From Boardroom to Runway to Real Life, Women, Their Self-Image, Fashion Industry's Control, featured international haute couture fashion designer Henry N. Jackson. Henry's new line of fashion couture trademarked Real Women Bodies is created specifically for all women, including full-figured. In addition to his H&J label, Henry has created merchandise and managed design teams for Henry Bendel, Neiman Marcus, Oscar De La Renta, Valentino Rome, and has personally designed for Oprah Winfrey, Halle Berry, Tova Fedshu, Julie Taymor, and First Lady Michelle Obama, to name just a few. Henry spoke to the realities of the fashion industry, to the images that shape the psyche of youth and adults, stressing the importance of being an educated consumer and investing in quality clothing and not those that are created to last less than a season. He spoke to the pros and cons of untrained individuals in entertainment and sports entering into the fashion industry, and was painfully honest about the importance of not allowing the fashion industry to dictate our sense of worth or beauty, and or succumbing to pressures that could result in sacrificing one's health in order to look like someone you could not possibly ever have looked like without permanently altering your features, your natural beauty. As he addressed questions from the audience, Henry stressed the importance of wearing clothing and fabrics that complement your body, the importance of dressing appropriately for the occasion and workplace, and how dress-down Fridays have wreaked havoc on what's perceived as appropriate attire for the workplace. Following this, he shared with us his 2010 line and various people adorning his clothing. Each of our guest speakers were presented a token gift of appreciation, which were gift bags containing merchandise from GCT Transit Museum, or were donated by Metro-North's Corporate and Media Relations Division, and all employees who attended, just simply because of their presence, we appreciated their support, were given gift bags. It should be noted that all purchases were made possible by the private donations of members of the Council and Metro-North. Thank you.
Thank you.
Natasha.
Natasha, that's a great program, and it's particularly important because we're hoping to expand our female workforce, as we'll hear later in the program. And Gwen, can you tell us when the next few
Sure.
events will be? And we have to move because we do have bridges and tunnels waiting.
Right. During the month of May, Headquarters and Capital Construction will celebrate Asian Heritage Month. That event will occur on May 25th. MTA Bridges and Tunnel will honor their World War II veterans on May 20th. During the month of June, MTA has coupled with New York City Transit, and we will celebrate the Caribbean Heritage Month. That event will occur on June 9th. MTA Bridges and Tunnel will also celebrate the Caribbean Heritage Month, and that event will occur on June 19th.
Let me also just thank Joe Andrews for coming up with funding to buy food for these upcoming events in June. We're doing things in a real cost-effective manner, as you know, and Joe stepped up to the plate and funded this one event in June. So thank you.
Right. Let me also mention for the Capital Construction event in May, they are sponsoring, Capital Construction is sponsoring that for us.
Great.
It's great. Certification activity, Carolyn.
Good afternoon. Well, as of December 31st, 2009, we had 38 applications that were pending review. During that period of time, from January 2010 through March 2010, we processed 23. Of those 23 that were processed, 9 were certified, 6 were denied, 7 were returned, there were none that were deemed ineligible, and 1 firm withdrew its application. During that same 3-month period, we received 21 new applications, leaving us with a pending number of 36 applications as of March 31st, 2010.
Hi, my same general questions. How long does it take for an application on average to go through the process?
Well, we had sent that information in, and in 2009, it took approximately 40 business days for an application to be processed.
Okay, and then the first quarter of this year, have you figured that?
I have not done that yet.
Okay. All right, great, thank you. And by the way, I don't want to be remiss in following on my sentiment. Thank you for all the work you do. I know I asked some questions that add to your workload, but I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll get that information to you for the first quarter. What we have here is a chart just detailing the certification determinations, how they were broken down. And as I said, there were 9 firms certified during that 3-month period, 6 denied, none were deemed ineligible, 7 were returned, and 1 was withdrawn, for a total of 23. What I do want to point out, though, is the increase in the number of firms that have been denied. And right now, on my plate, I have 6 applications that have recommendations for denials that I'm reviewing right now. Right. Determination by service area. One of the things I know you're always interested in is knowing what type of firms are we getting in. And during the 3-month period, January, February, and March, 5 of those firms were in construction and related areas. This time we didn't have any in professional services. We had 2 suppliers and 1 photographer. So that gave us our certified firms for this 3-month period. Thank you. I did want to say one other thing. If you notice, we have certification classes every month, and there's been a marked increase in the number of people who are attending. In January, we had 4 people attend. February, we had 6. Both of those times, we had bad weather. In March, we had 44, and in April, we had 26.
I think there's a synergy between the outreach and the certification process,
absolutely.
and I think we'll see this grow and grow, which is a good thing. On to the year-end EEO report.
Okay. The first slide is just an overview. What it basically is saying, it's a disclaimer, so that when I use the term underutilization, it doesn't mean that we have determined what the reasons are or conducted a root cause analysis. Okay. This particular slide, the changing availability, what this is a chart that shows a comparison of where we were with the estimated availability during the year of 2000 and where the estimated availability that we used during the year of 2009. At the end of 2009, looking at this chart, it shows that females and employees that are classified as others are underutilized. The changing demographics is a comparison of the 2000 workforce to 2009 workforce. The overall workforce increased by 9%. And all of the protected groups representation has also increased, with the exception of American Indians, Native Americans. MTA-wide workforce, as of December 31st, MTA workforce totaled 70,282. That's a net decrease of 761 employees. Females represented 17% of the workforce, while minorities represented 63%. Could we go to the next slide? All of the protected groups exceeded or met the 80% census availability, with the exceptions, again, of females and others. Here we have our O&M. As of 12/31/09, 15% of the total workforce was the employees were in the O&M job category. Of the total O&M workforce, 17% are female, 50% are minority. Could we go to the next slide? MTA HQ has the highest percentage of female, that being 34%, while New York City Transit employed the highest percent of minorities, that being 58% in the O&M job category. During 2009, MTA and its agencies hired a total of 2,641 employees. 17% of the new hires are females, while 68% are minority. Next slide, please. 47% of capital construction new hires are females, while 81% of bus company new hires are minority. Next chart. As you can see, the majority of new hires were in the service maintenance job category, which was like 49% of the new hires, and the skilled craft job category, which is 28.5%. During 2009, MTA and its agencies handled a total of 379 external EEO complaints, citing 586 separate allegations. Next chart, please. A comparison of 2007 external complaints to 2009 external complaints shows an increase in the number of complaints filed, and it's about an increase of about 65%. The majority of the complaints, the external complaints that were filed, claimed race, disability, or other types of discrimination. The internal complaints, thank you, MTA and its agency handled a total of 200 complaints, citing 274 separate allegations. A comparison of between 2007 internal complaints to 2009 internal complaints show a 49% increase in the number of complaints handled. A majority of the complaints claimed race, sexual harassment, and other types of discrimination. For Title VI, MTA and its agencies handled a total of 20 Title VI complaints, citing 20 separate allegations. Comparisons of the complaints handled in 2007 to 2009 shows an increase of 55%. A majority of the complaints claimed race discrimination. The agencies submitted their 2009-2010 annual EEO programs, and the programs showed that females continued to be underutilized in non-traditional jobs at the operating agencies. Some of the strategies that we have discussed with the MTA recruitment and sourcing agency-wide representatives is that they're going to present MTA as one agency instead of several separate agencies. The sourcing and recruitment representatives for all the agencies have designed and now have implemented a job readiness and interviewing skill workshop at the career and job fairs. They have partnered with educational institutions, advocacy groups, and other organizations to increase female and minority representation. However, due to budgetary concerns, MTA and its agencies are only participating in selective recruitment activities. We also conducted a 2000, I don't know why it says 9, it was the 2009 Title VI assessment, and during that review, we discovered that using the three methods that are up there, the level of service, the quality of service, and an analysis of customer surveys, that there were no inequities toward minority or low-income communities.
That was a lot of information. Do you have any questions, or are you blurry-eyed?
No, I'm just bedeviled by this female problem.
Yes.
Continues.
Yes.
Continues.
Yes.
Thank you, John. It continues, but it's not. It's something that we've been addressing more and more, and
We are.
I think.
Well, our public speaker showed that women firms are out there, and hopefully with this mentoring effort, we'll see some better numbers on the procurement side. But in terms of the hiring side, it's just very disappointing.
You know, we've been working to improve the hiring side as well, and as have some of the operating agencies that are low on their targets. And I'm hoping that once we get the mentoring program up and all of that and just chugging along beautifully, that we can start focusing on our own workforce issue. I know that I get frustrated when I see the numbers, but I also remember that when I started doing this committee, we also needed to hire more Hispanic members, and at least, you know, it's one step at a time, and this one, unfortunately, is just a huge step.
Well, I share Jay's assessment that we live in the biggest city in the world, and it really should not be any shortage of any group. And we've been actually working with the agencies. And as a matter of fact, we had a meeting last month with Capital CC, and I don't want to call them out, but I'm personally tired of talking to someone and they're doing like this, you know. And so I know that we've been having conversations before the downsizing exercise right now about bringing all of the agencies at a round table once a month. Both the person who's in charge of EEO and the HR hiring staff, and bringing them together and making sure that we move to address these problems as we move on. And so basically, I am looking at this, you know.
John?
Mike, after you bring them together, then maybe we should bring them here.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm all for that. I'm fine. All right.
Contract integrity.
Good afternoon. On page number 33, there's a representation of the total number of contracts that were monitored by our office for the fourth quarter 2009, which represents a total number of 938 contracts. That's up from the third quarter 2008, 827 contracts. On the next slide, we show a total number of subcontractors at 3,887. However, the individual subcontractors are 1,132. The following slide shows a original subcontract amount of $2,317,773,119, and as you can see from the actual current amount, there's been a slight increase in the number of actual dollars, and this could be based on change orders and amendments to the actual contract. On page number 36, this chart represents the federally funded contracts that were awarded January through December 2009. And agency-wide, there's a total number of 3,845 contracts at a value of $2,280,000. Of that, the DBE subcontractors' participation is 189 for a total dollar value amount of $257,400,000, or a total of 17.7% participation. Based on the New York State funded contracts or new awards for 2009, on page number 37, and let me just kind of add the caveat that Long Island Bus is not included in this chart because they are federally funded contracts. But based on the agency-wide participation, there are 63,895 contracts for a total of $4,529,000, and the number of subcontractors was 1,998 for a total of $101 million, with a overall participation of 2.2%. And based on regulations, if there is not M or WBE, an inventory that does not lend itself to qualified or certified MWBE subcontractors, then we cannot put a goal on the contract, so that may represent a shortfall.
Let me say that that basically, as I indicated at CPOC, that we buy billions of dollars of goods and parts, that there are no MWBE firms in the marketplace. And so therefore we're now working with transit. We're going down line by line by line and looking at those areas in which we are buying where there are no MWBE firms, and we're going to ask for relief, because you can't assign a goal or there's no prime contractors in these areas. And I had a conversation with Joe Andrews, and we really need to work more in sync together to ensure that we will do a better job in ensuring that where the goals are set, that we are achieving those goals. And we started talking about that. I'm starting at transit first, and then I'm going to all of the other operating agencies, going to use the same format. And if you look at the actual numbers, if you look at transit, it's 1.2% because of those paratransit contracts where there is no goals, and those parts that we buy in large volume where there are no MWDB firms.
Okay. Page 38 and 39 is actually a breakdown of MBE dollar amount as well as on 39 WBE dollar amount. So of the 64,000 contracts, for the MBE participation, there were 568 subcontractors totaling $66 million in participation for 1.5% participation. For the WBE, there were a total of 1,430 subcontractors participating for a value of $35 million or 0.8%. The ongoing MWDBE participation based on the federal dollars this is a representation of the actual contracts that we are monitoring to date. So there's 149 active contracts that we're monitoring for $7,225,000,000. Total number of subcontractors participating is 921 for a dollar value of $959 million. Total percent of participation 13.3. The page 41 is.
Sure.
Sorry. Am I seeing this wrong? But do the federal dollars have a much greater participation rate?
It's about even.
Is it?
You know,
Okay.
if you look at the page on 41, it tells you that 12.9% of contracts that we are monitoring are in compliance.
Okay.
So it's about 13 and 13.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks.
Right. Okay. And having said that, Mike kind of segued into the combined activity of M&WB participation based on page 41, which is, again, at 12.9%. On page 42, what we've done is shown the quarterly dollar amount of participation. So for the fourth quarter, when you look at the preceding numbers, we had $17 billion, $17+ billion of prime contract participation and $2.3 billion of M&WBE participation for a total of 13.1%. And of that, the total quarterly payments to the M&WB subcontractors for the fourth quarter was $58 million in 2008, but for 2009 is $47 million, and this can be in part to the delayed receipt of invoices from prime and subcontractors, so it may carry over for the following quarter.
We aren't meeting the goals that we'd like to meet, and we're taking steps to correct that, but we're also trying to set goals that are more meaningful, which should improve the credibility of our program, particularly with our own agencies. And I think all this in the long run will help. So I thank you.
You know, this is a final comment. I had a conversation with one of our subway car manufacturers who are based up in Yonkers. And I asked them if they would be open to borrowing a page from the big three, the auto dealers, the auto manufacturers, of co-identifying small minority-owned suppliers, loaning them senior staff, giving them small contracts, and building these firms up. And they indicated that they are open to that. So we are beginning to talk about creating more firms in the marketplace in which we can co-mentor these firms, in which these manufacturers now can use these firms to satisfy our MW and DBE goals.
Any other comments? I thank everyone very much, and I'll see you at our next meeting. And now it's time for Bridges and Tunnels. Second? Second. All in favor? We're adjourned.
So I know you're going home tonight and get a nice meal. And